Money. It's a topic that makes many parents nervous. We know it's important, but we often avoid talking about it with our kids. We worry, will talking about money make them greedy? Will it make them entitled? Or will it just confuse them? But here's the truth. Kids are already curious about money. They see us spending it. They hear us talking about it. And they start asking questions. How much do you make? Why can't I have that toy? Are we rich? These are big questions, but instead of shutting them down, we should use them to teach our children valuable lessons. This book is about how to do just that. The Opposite of Spoiled is a guide for parents who want to raise kids who understand the value of money, who are generous, patient, and responsible. The author, Ron Lieber, believes that teaching kids about money is not just about dollars and cents. It's about values. When we talk to our kids about money in the right way, we help them become kind, hardworking, and thoughtful adults. In this book, we will explore real stories from families across the country. We will learn practical tips on how to talk to kids about saving, spending, and giving. We will see how different families handle allowance, chores, and financial challenges. And we will discover that money isn't just about wealth, it's about character. So if you want to raise kids who appreciate what they have, who understand hard work, and who grow up to be responsible and generous adults, then you're in the right place. Let's begin the book. Chapter 1. Why we need to talk about money. Money. It's a subject that makes many parents uneasy. We know our kids are curious about it, but we hesitate to bring it up. Maybe we worry that discussing money will make them obsessed with wealth, or perhaps we feel unqualified to give them the right answers. But the truth is, money is not just about dollars and cents, it's about values. And the way we talk to our children about money shapes their character. In this chapter, I want to make the case that money is one of the most important teaching tools we have as parents. It's a way to instill generosity, patience, hard work, and gratitude. But first, we must get comfortable talking about it. A child's first question's about money. Kids are naturally curious about money. They see us swiping our credit cards, handing over cash, and paying bills. And then come the questions. How much money do you make? Are we rich? Why can't I have that toy? Many parents brush these questions aside, thinking children are too young to understand. But these moments are golden opportunities for teaching. Take the story of Sarah and her 7-year-old son, Ben. One evening, while grocery shopping, Ben asked why some brands were cheaper than others. Sarah paused, unsure how to respond. Instead of dismissing the question, she explained how families have budgets, how they decide where to spend, and why they choose certain products. She told him about sales, discounts, and even the idea of quality versus price. This simple conversation taught Ben about trade-offs, priorities, and smart spending, all from a single question. A similar scenario happened with Michael, a father of 2 young daughters. One day they drove past a huge mansion, and his older daughter asked, "Are we rich?" Instead of a simple yes or no, Michael asked her what she thought rich meant. She responded with things like big houses, fancy cars, and expensive vacations. He used the opportunity to explain that richness isn't just about material things. It's about security, relationships, and being able to help others. He also introduced the idea that different people have different financial circumstances, but it doesn't define their worth. Breaking the silence. Some parents avoid money talks because they believe it will make their children greedy. Others fear that being open about financial struggles might make their kids anxious. But silence doesn't protect children. It only leaves them to figure things out on their own. Consider an example from a father named Mark, who was laid off from his job. Instead of hiding the situation, he sat his kids down and explained in age-appropriate terms what had happened. He reassured them that they would be fine, but also used the moment to discuss the importance of savings and financial planning. Rather than instilling fear, he gave them confidence that challenges could be managed. He even included them in the family's decision-making about cutting unnecessary expenses, which made them feel involved rather than helpless. Biblical wisdom on money. Money has always been a central theme in human life, and many biblical teachings emphasize wisdom, generosity, and responsibility. Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Teaching kids about money from a young age sets them up for success in handling their finances responsibly in the future. Jesus himself spoke about money in many parables, highlighting its power to do both good and harm. In Luke 12 verse 15, he warns, "Watch out! Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." This message reminds us that teaching kids about money should focus not just on acquiring wealth, but on using it wisely and generously. The power of transparency. Children learn best through real-life experiences. When we involve them in money discussions, whether about budgeting, saving, or giving, we teach them lessons that will last a lifetime. Instead of treating money as a secret, we can use it as a tool to shape our children's values and attitudes. By starting these conversations early and often, we can help our children grow up with a healthy, responsible, and generous approach to money. Chapter 2. How to start the money conversations. Money is a part of everyday life, and that means there are endless opportunities to teach kids about it. But how do we start these conversations in a way that feels natural and not forced? The best way is to take advantage of real-life moments, be honest, and tailor discussions to a child's age and maturity level. Finding everyday moments. We don't need to schedule formal money lessons. Opportunities arise every day. Whether we're at the grocery store, the bank, or even donating to charity, there are countless chances to introduce financial concepts. Consider Emily and her daughter, Sophie. While checking out at a store, Sophie noticed two people paying differently, one with cash and one with a credit card. She asked her mom why. Instead of giving a quick answer, Emily explained the difference between debit and credit, how borrowing money works, and why it's important to pay back what we owe. This simple exchange planted the seeds of financial literacy, tailoring the conversation by age. Preschoolers can start with basic concepts like recognizing coins and understanding that money is used to buy things. Elementary-aged kids can learn about budgeting, while teenagers should understand credit, debt, and investments. For example, a parent might explain budgeting to a 5-year-old by using a jar system. One for spending, one for saving, and one for giving. Older kids can be given a small allowance and encouraged to manage it responsibly. Encouraging questions. Sometimes children ask tough money questions. Are we rich? Why do some people have more than others? Instead of avoiding these topics, we should use them as opportunities to discuss fairness, hard work, and privilege. A thoughtful answer can shape a child's perspective for years to come. By making money conversations natural and ongoing, we ensure that our kids grow up financially smart and emotionally prepared to handle money well. Chapter 3. The Allowance Debates. One of the most debated topics in parenting is whether or not to give kids an allowance. Should children be paid for chores? Should they receive money just because they are part of the family? What is the right amount? How do we ensure allowance teaches responsibility instead of entitlement? Parents have widely different opinions on this. Some believe giving an allowance without work teaches kids that money comes easy. Others argue that children should learn that some responsibilities, like cleaning their room or helping with dishes, should be done simply because they are part of a family, not as a paid transaction. Real-life example, the case of the 3-jar system. Take the story of Rachel and her 8-year-old son, Jake. Rachel wanted Jake to understand money beyond just spending, so she introduced him to the 3-jar system. Spending jar, money he could use however he wanted. Saving jar, a portion of his allowance that had to be saved for bigger things. Giving jar, a small portion set aside for charity or helping others. Each week, Jake received $5 and had to divide them into the 3 jars. Over time, he learned to think beyond instant gratification. He started to save for things he truly valued, and he became excited about donating money to causes he cared about. Should allowance be earned? Some parents, like Tom and Lisa, believed their kids should earn their allowance. They set up a system where their children had to complete certain household tasks, vacuuming, mowing the lawn, washing the car, to get paid. They argued this prepared them for the real world, where money is earned through work. But then came a challenge. One day, their son Adam refused to do his chores. He simply said, "I don't need the money this week." Suddenly, the whole system fell apart. If allowance was optional, so were the chores. This made Tom and Lisa reconsider their approach. Other parents, like Nancy, believed that some work should be expected as part of family life, while extra work, like washing the car or babysitting a younger sibling, could come with a financial reward. This middle ground approach worked well for her family. Biblical perspective on work and money. Proverbs 13 verse 11 states, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." Teaching kids that money is earned and managed wisely aligns with biblical principles. Whether an allowance is given freely or earned, the key is using it as a teaching tool. The best allowance system is one that encourages financial responsibility, patience, and generosity. Whether or not to tie it to chores is a choice each family must make, but the goal remains the same: raising kids who understand the value of money. Chapter 4: The smartest ways for kids to spend. Now that kids have money, the next challenge is teaching them how to spend wisely. Just as adults struggle with impulse buying, children often want to spend their money the moment they get it. How do we help them make smart financial decisions? The ice cream versus the toy dilemma. One of the simplest ways to teach this lesson is through experience. Consider the story of Emily and her son, Noah. Noah received $10 as a birthday gift. That afternoon, they went to the mall. As soon as he saw the ice cream stand, he wanted to buy the biggest sundae. Emily reminded him that he had been saving for a toy he really wanted. If he spent $6 on ice cream, he wouldn't have enough left for the toy. Noah had to make a choice: instant pleasure or waiting for something bigger. He decided to wait, and a week later, he was able to buy the toy. That moment helped him understand delayed gratification. The needs versus wants talk. A simple way to help kids make better spending decisions is by asking, is this a need or a want? For younger kids, this can be explained in simple terms. Needs, things we must have to live: food, shelter, clothes. Wants, things we like but can live without: toys, games, candy. Older kids can go deeper, learning about budgeting, opportunity costs, and making wise purchases. Biblical perspective on spending. Luke 16 verse 10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." Teaching kids to be thoughtful about small purchases prepares them to handle larger financial decisions in adulthood. By guiding our children to think before they spend, we help them develop habits that will last a lifetime. Chapter 5: Are we raising materialistic kids? Every parent wants to give their child the best life possible. But in a world filled with advertisements, peer pressure, and endless new gadgets, how do we make sure our kids aren't becoming materialistic? The story of the gimme kid. Sarah noticed that her daughter, Lily, always wanted more. Whether it was toys, clothes, or the latest gadgets, she always had a gimme attitude. One day, while shopping, Lily saw another girl her age with a brand new tablet. "I need that too," she whined. Instead of saying no outright, Sarah paused and asked, "Why do you need it?" Lily struggled to answer. She didn't need it, she just wanted it because someone else had it. Sarah used that moment to explain the difference between needs and wants. She also reminded Lily about the joy of being content with what she already had. The role of gratitude. Teaching gratitude is one of the best ways to combat materialism. Families can practice this by encouraging kids to write thank you notes, making gratitude lists at the dinner table, volunteering to help those less fortunate. Biblical perspective on contentment. 1 Timothy 6 verses 6 to 7 states, "Godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it." This verse reminds us that possessions are temporary. The true measure of happiness is not in what we own, but in how we appreciate what we already have. Shifting the focus from stuff to experiences. Many parents find that kids cherish experiences more than material gifts. Instead of buying another toy, consider a special trip together, a cooking night as a family, a weekend camping trip. Experiences create lasting memories, while material things often lose their appeal quickly. By encouraging gratitude, limiting excessive materialism, and focusing on experiences, we can help our children develop a healthy perspective on money and possessions. Chapter 6: How to talk about giving. Money is not just about spending and saving, it's also about giving. One of the most important lessons we can teach our children is how to be generous, to share what they have, and to help those in need. But how do we encourage a spirit of generosity in a world that often emphasizes accumulation over contribution? The story of the generous jar. Meet Olivia, a 10-year-old girl whose parents, Tom and Lisa, wanted to teach her about giving. They used the classic three-jar method: spend, save, and give. Olivia was excited to fill her spend jar, but was less enthusiastic about the give jar. "Why do I have to put money in here?" she asked one day. Instead of forcing the issue, her parents took her to a community shelter where families in need received meals and clothing. Olivia saw firsthand how some children her age had very little. Suddenly, the give jar made sense. She decided to donate her savings to buy blankets for the shelter, and in that moment, generosity became personal. Why teaching giving matters? Children who learn to give become more compassionate, understanding, and appreciative of what they have. Giving helps kids see beyond themselves and recognize the needs of others. We can encourage this in simple ways. Let kids choose a cause they care about: animals, education, poverty relief. Have them donate a portion of their allowance or birthday money. Volunteer as a family at shelters or food banks. Biblical perspective on generosity. Proverbs 11 verse 25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." The Bible consistently teaches that giving brings more joy than receiving. Jesus himself said in Acts 20 verse 35, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." By making generosity a family practice, we show our children that giving is not just a duty, it's a privilege. Chapter 7: Why Kids Should Work. Hard work builds character. It teaches responsibility, discipline, and resilience. But in today's world, many kids grow up without real work experience. They focus on school and activities, while parents handle all financial responsibilities. The result? Many young adults struggle to manage jobs and responsibilities later in life. The story of the lemonade stand CEO. Let's talk about Ethan, a 12-year-old boy who wanted extra money to buy video games. His parents told him they wouldn't just give him the money, he had to earn it. So Ethan started a lemonade stand. At first, he underestimated the work involved: squeezing lemons, buying supplies, setting up a table, and attracting customers. But after a few weeks, he got better. He adjusted his prices, experimented with flavors, and even added cookies to boost sales. By the end of summer, he had earned enough for his video games and saved extra money. More importantly, he learned the value of effort, patience, and creativity. Why kids need to work. When kids work, whether it's mowing lawns, babysitting, or helping at a family business, they develop skills that last a lifetime. Work teaches them the importance of showing up on time, how to interact with customers or employers, the connection between effort and reward. Even unpaid work, like household chores or volunteering, helps kids understand responsibility. Biblical perspective on work. Colossians 3 verse 23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." Work is not just about earning money. It's about developing a strong work ethic and serving others well. Encouraging kids to work prepares them for adulthood, teaching them responsibility, independence, and confidence. Chapter 8: The Luckiest. We all want our children to feel blessed and fortunate, but how do we help them understand the difference between luck, privilege, and true gratitude? The story of two families. Consider two families, the Johnsons and the Carters. The Johnsons are wealthy. Their kids attend private schools, travel every summer, and never worry about money. The Carters, meanwhile, live modestly. Their children go to public school, and family vacations are rare. One day, young Emma Johnson complained about not getting the latest iPhone. Her mother decided to take her to volunteer at a local shelter. Emma met kids her age who had never owned a smartphone. That day, she realized how fortunate she was, not just for material things, but for the stability and security her family provided. Meanwhile, Josh Carter, who grew up with less, always believed that wealth was purely luck. But as he got older, he saw how hard his parents worked, how they managed their money wisely, and how their values shaped his future. He realized that while some things in life are out of our control, hard work and gratitude play a big role in success. How to teach kids about privilege. Encourage volunteering so they see different lifestyles firsthand. Have open conversations about financial differences and fairness. Remind them that true wealth is about family, kindness, and gratitude, not just money. Biblical perspective on gratitude. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 18 says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." Gratitude changes our perspective. When children learn to appreciate what they have, they grow into adults who are content and generous. Chapter 9. How much is enough? One of the hardest questions for parents is, how much should we give our kids? If we give too little, they might feel deprived. If we give too much, they might become entitled. Where do we find the balance? The story of the birthday dilemma. Amy's son, Luke, had a birthday coming up. He handed her a long list of expensive gifts. Amy hesitated. Should she buy everything he wanted? Should she set a limit? Instead of making the decision alone, she sat down with Luke and asked, "What do you really value?" After some discussion, Luke realized he cared more about a fun experience, like a trip to an amusement park, than a pile of gifts. This conversation helped Luke see that happiness isn't about how much we have, but what we value most. Finding the right balance. Set clear expectations. Decide how much is reasonable to give. Teach kids that money is finite, and they must make choices. Encourage them to prioritize experiences and relationships over material things. Biblical perspective on contentment. Philippians 4 verse 12 says, "I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want." Contentment is a powerful lesson. Teaching kids how to define enough helps them live with gratitude and wisdom. Conclusion: raising money smart, generous, and grateful kids. Money is so much more than numbers on a page or bills in a wallet. It's a tool that can shape character, teach responsibility, and instill lifelong values. Throughout this book, we've explored the many ways in which financial conversations, when handled with openness and intentionality, can help children grow into thoughtful, responsible, and generous adults. We've seen how allowance can teach kids financial independence, how work builds discipline, and how giving nurtures compassion. We've learned that talking about money, rather than avoiding it, creates opportunities for kids to ask questions, wrestle with decisions, and understand the deeper meaning of wealth and privilege. We've also explored how gratitude helps children appreciate what they have rather than constantly seeking more. At the heart of it all is this simple truth: raising children who are the opposite of spoiled doesn't mean depriving them. It means preparing them. It's about equipping them with the knowledge, perspective, and habits that will serve them well throughout life. It's about showing them that money is not an end in itself, but a resource to be used wisely, shared generously, and handled with care. Final thoughts for parents. As parents, we won't always get everything right. Some conversations will be awkward, some lessons will take time to sink in, and some decisions, how much allowance to give, whether to pay for chores, how to handle big money requests, will feel difficult. But what matters most is that we start the conversation and keep it going. Children are always watching and learning from us. The way we handle our finances, the way we react to financial stress, and the way we give to others all shape their understanding of money. If we approach these topics with honesty, consistency, and a focus on values, our kids will grow up with a healthy, balanced perspective on money, one that serves them well in every area of their lives. A future of financial wisdom. Imagine a generation of young adults who understand the power of money, not just for their own benefit, but for the good of others. Imagine kids who grow up knowing how to save, spend, and give responsibly. Imagine children who feel grateful rather than entitled, who work hard rather than expecting handouts, and who see wealth not as a measure of success, but as a tool for positive change. This is the vision behind the opposite of spoiled. When we teach our children to be mindful about money, we are not just shaping their financial future, we are shaping their character, their choices, and ultimately their impact on the world. So let's begin today. Let's start the conversations, lead by example, and raise a generation of kids who are not just smart about money, but wise about life. The opposite of spoiled is not just about money. It's about raising kids who are grounded, responsible, generous, and ready for the world ahead. Thank you.